Welcome back to the channel. So this video is on International Graphite. It just IPO'd recently. So basically what happened, this company CRL, who's in a trading halt for some time, can't remember why, they've sorted out some issues. They had this project and they decided to give it up to these guys in turn for 25% of the company. So CRL had the Springdale project here, graphite resource, and they said, oh, okay, we'll give it to you guys, and we want 25% of the company because these guys are going to process it further. So you get out of the ground, you have to do the processing to get to spherical graphite, and they coat the graphite, etc., etc. Goes in the battery. So that's basically what happened there. And this company, quite stupid of me, I think I bought them at 40 cents or something, and so I'm down quite a bit. It was a bit of a stupid spontaneous buy on the IPO day. I don't know what got into me, to be honest. So it's a place to be patient, although sometimes you can be patient and miss out, but if you're patient for a good price, then at least you can be happy with the price, where I was perhaps jumping too early on the price as well. So what do they do? We'll start at the top. This is on their announcements. So they get graphite out of the ground. I think they have a thing of what happens here. So it comes out here, goes to here, gets processed. Basically they get a ton of graphite out there and they spironize it to become battery grade. And then, so maybe 1-2 tons might make, like out of 1 ton of graphite out of here, you might get like half a ton of spirionized graphite, but then they can make the stuff that doesn't make the cut into something else, stuff like that. But do some research on that. So there's various stages of the graphite out of the ground to the battery, which I think is below here. This is a bit of a stupid thing. Well, she says that there's heaps of lithium, everything to do with the batteries around here, so they're in a good spot. It's pretty much what it's saying. So 450 kilometers, that's a long way. I'm going to have to truck that, which I don't like much about that either. So remember, when you look at these companies, basically, they could be said they're transport companies because they're getting this stuff out of the ground, transporting it. So that comes a cost too. And things like power, costs a lot of power. Basically, getting the graphite out of the ground and make it into spirionized graphite is crushing mills and power and stuff like that. So take that into consideration. Thing I do like, it is an Australian company, so if you're from Australia, you can have trust there, because what I noticed, this company here, off topic bit, Trident Minerals, they had this massive resource in Mozambique, and the Mozambique government said, oh, we're going to put this up for tender again, it's not yours anymore. Trident Minerals just lost it. So you wouldn't think that would happen in Australia. This is also quite an old thing. So Trident Minerals now has this resource, which is now around the 40 million tons. Yeah, so anyway, back to it. Hopefully this says how we do it. So the other good thing about this, they've got a small resource. So going back to this here, Trident Minerals was at 15 million tons. They did a bit more drilling and stuff, grew that resource. So this is an old thing, not sure what the year, but a lot of these resources might have changed a bit. So we'll go back to here. So look at this. This is what they have drilled. This plain stuff around here. Existing resource outline. This stuff. And then they got all this upside here. So looks like they've done about 20% roughly. So times that by 5. Could be 100 million ton resource, which could go quite well. Think about graphite now. I think they might get it out of the ground for $500. And then they'll sell it. If it's large flake, you can get a better price. The other stuff might sell. They make roughly $500 margin. But in the future, if there's a deficit, what happened with lithium, it was selling for like, let's see, they'll get out of the ground for $300, sell it for like $1,000. Now they're selling for like $5,000. So it went crazy. So that, obviously that's spot prices and not like contract prices. But I think there is upside in the graphite if we see a shortfall in demand. So shortfall in supply, all these companies become the valuations just shoot up, because instead of making 10 million, they're making 20 million, they're making double that. And then we should see a good price. First, like all through the early 20s, once it gets kicked up, there's going to be a lot of demand for it. So even if they can't get a high price, as long as they get a decent price, they can do volumes of this stuff to the battery market and be pretty good projects. So here we go here. Crushing, flotation, bagging, truck into collie. So that's just what happens at the mine. And I thought it would have said what happens at collie. Here we go. So expandable graphite actually gets a higher margin than the battery anode stuff. Just straight raw stuff, but then they have to do the micronizing, purification. I'm not going to read these too hard. All this stuff, which it's not free. Like they have to spend $1,000 to do this on each ton. Then spend this much. They get more money at the end, so there's more value unlocked. But yes. So look what I said. Higher perspective, VTEM, which is like some sort of radar search that says what magnetic forces come out of the ground or something like that. I can't remember what a VTM is, but pretty much says there might be a chance of these sort of minerals in the ground here. That is basically what I showed you on. I can't be bothered looking up, but it gives you this thing and it says like, oh, it looks like we got this here, looks the same, etc., etc. Like, you don't have to be a brainiac, you just have to have a basic understanding, is my opinion. So this can go up. So look at the timeline here, feasibility study. So once this comes out, should be pretty good. If we look at some others, this is Vault Resources, which I bought. So they got similar grade. Like the numbers are pretty huge. They spend 170 million. This is just for getting the graphite out of the ground, not doing the extra stuff that IG6 will be doing. Although Vault Resources is also going to do that downstream processing. I guess anyone who's got graphite will probably go that way because there's more money, and why not? So spend 170 million, and then each year, EBITDA. Yes, so spend 170 million to get the mine going. And then each year they're making 200 million. So you can buy Vault Resources for 60 million or something like that. And that's the things they're doing. They have a pretty big resource. I have to go back here to look at it. Vault Resources. Low grade but big. Like they might have high grade areas as well. So see some rough figures here. Sorry, bear with me. Just go some really rough figures. So you have a processing plant, spend 200 million, you make 100,000 tons a year. Once you've ramped up to huge amounts, then each thing you're making $500. So what's that? 500 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. $50 million a year. So 100,000 tons at 500 profit, and so say that doubles and graphite's in high demand, you've got $100 million a year for a company that you paid like $60 million for. So there's huge upside here, and you just got to think, is graphite going to be in high demand, or does everyone have so much graphite that's not? Well, I don't actually know. Like there's heaps of graphite there, they just have to get out of the ground. And then you want to look probably first mover advantage, and also like things like grade might come into effect. Obviously they have to get less dirt out of the ground. They might be close, like these guys have to truck it 450 kilometers, where I think from Telga, I think everything's pretty close to where they are, and they got hydropower, which is the cheapest source of power. Although solar power's not far behind. I think hydropower's a winner, and then solar and wind are pretty close behind that. But Telga Resources, they're 500 million, so they've already grown. And now you want to get a company that can become the next Telga Resources, because there's more X's in your share price, in my opinion. So this was another good one. They had hydropower, pretty good resource, pretty good grade. Trident Minerals I was going to buy, but I found out after making a phone call to the company, this just got taken off them. So that's got me off these African ones. Who knows what could happen. Ecograph, I don't see a massive difference between. People might kill me for this, for any EcoGraph holders, but why cannot IG6 come next EcoGraph in the next 3 years' time, which I think EcoGraph is 250 million, so that's a few X's there to get where they are. So time will tell. Another good one I like was Volt Resources, who had this project here with, it's going to make 195 million a year once it ramps up fully. So even if it makes half that, you can pay 60 million to get Volt now. Obviously, there's risk involved, but that's just this thing. They also have a thing in Ukraine, which is why maybe the share price went down quite a lot. But they had an operating mine in Ukraine, so maybe that's going to be a bonus when that comes back. If it does, we can only hope. So that's just my thoughts on IG6 in the graphite market. Perhaps now, these shares, if you can find something you like, check it over 3 times, get a lot of opinions, even ring up the company, write some questions down, email the company, ring them up. Normally, companies are happy to talk to you. So that's what I can say, that graphite could be the next lithium, is in terms of like the lithium price going crazy and stocks who can benefit from that price following that. So you could also do a thing for anything in the battery minerals. I think battery minerals are the place to be, because obviously we never need all these electric cars. Like, we never had so many electric cars, and now we're going to have them because they're better in a lot of aspects, in my opinion. So you can go to market index, type in the thing of choice. This is how I do it anyway. Find these companies. I switch the market cap around. Find these small companies. You have to go through them. You might go these, find out, click on this thing. This company closed down years ago. Might click on this one. They don't even have a coal. They might have just sold their cobalt project to someone else. And then you have to go through this one. Then you have to see like what sort of grade, what area they're in, how big are they compared to the other guy, what advantage do they have over the other players, and then see if anything sticks out to you, and yeah, go from there. Then also, the company, things, you have to just think like, if they're going to make 10 million a year, but they cost 200 million, and the upside, you just got to do all the sums, really dumb it down for yourself. That's how I do it. So, yeah, not much I can say. There's a lot of companies out there. You just got to think who's going to make it and who's actually going to make money in the end, and why. And if they can do it, who else can do it? People are asking for E3 metals. Might just go into them for a bit. So, Lake Resources, I said, were not great to buy right now, in my opinion. People say, oh, they're going to go heaps. They can do, because if you do the sums, they do 50,000 tons a year and make 10,000 on that. It's 500 million a year, and you can pay 2.5 billion. And if they make 20,000 on each ton, then that's even more. But the thing is, it's not a proven technology just yet. It could may as well work. And then they had to deal with Ford today, but Ford could easily say tomorrow, oh, we don't want to do that anymore. And if it doesn't work at scale, like there is people doing DLE in China, and it seems they struggle around 10,000. Like there's no, if you look at Pilbara Minerals, they're doing massive tonnage right now with a hard rock resource. There's no things like Lake doing it, so they're the first thing. They're going to test if it works. But the thing is, you can buy Lake for 2.5 billion, or E3 Metals is doing the same thing as Lake. Raise my voice here. So E3 Metals is doing the same thing as Lake. The only difference is, well, Lake is pairing with Lilac. So Lake I'm not sure what the deal is there, but they don't own the technology. So maybe they have to give a bit of the profit up to Lilac. E3 Metals owns the technology and the resource. It's in Canada, not South America. There's infrastructure there. So they're already getting oil out of the ground in Canada. And now they just have to make those wells deeper to go down to where the lithium wells are, the lithium body of water. They suck out the water. To dumb it down, they suck the water out of these underground aquifers. It's got a really low percentage of lithium in there. And they have these beads. All the technology is in the beads. So the beads, lithium gets stuck on the beads, and then they wash the beads off with water. And they're left with the lithium. And they say they can do it for $3,500 a ton. and right now that's selling for just crazy amounts. So they easily make $20,000 a ton or something like that. So if they do 50,000 tons a year, times that by 20,000, there's massive profits to be made if successful. So they're doing it right now. You can follow their news releases. But look, you can get these guys for 150 million, or you could buy Lake Resources for 2.5 billion, and you have a similar company. So, besides the grade, can anyone tell me the difference between E3 metals and Lake Resources? And I think I'm coming down with some sort of sickness, so I'm going to end that here. But if you want another E3 metals video, I've already made a few. There's not much more to tell you because it's already been told in my other videos, but you just got to wait for the company to do the work now, which they're doing. They're testing the sorbent, testing the best way to manufacture the sorbent. That's what the lithium gets stuck to from the water. Doing the test, so they build a little plant, and then if that plant works, they make it bigger because they have to spend like 10 million to make it bigger, and that will make the pilot plant, make sure that's working, test it 3 times over before they spend 700 million on their thing. And that's the thing about E3 metals. They have to spend, they can do it in stages, so they can build, it's modular, so they can spend 100 million and make a certain amount, or they spend like 700 million to get to full capacity. But time will tell, can they do it? There's still a risk involved. I think you get them like for some crazy price. So you would have made 10x if you believed in the story back in. You would have made crazy money. So you want to find these companies around here. I bought in up here and then around here somewhere, because the still seems pretty good to me. But you really want to find these companies here where you can believe in the story. It's going to happen. No one else has to believe in it, but as long as you check it over many times, then you can get some things like this. A few stocks. One stock I did this was Novonix. I bought $1. They were going to make $500 million a year of synthetic graphite. They were making equipment to test the batteries, like for all the big companies, so they knew what they were doing. They went to synthetic graphite. They're going to make synthetic graphite, make it for $3,000, sell it for like $12,000, and you could buy them for, I think, 500 million or 250 million, and they're going to be making $500 million a year by what they projected. And if they made half that, it was still going to be good. So I bought them here, up and down, and they just went crazy. And then it was just ridiculously priced up here. I thought, well, even if they haven't even done what they'll say they're going to do just yet, but people were pricing them to the moon. A lot of spruikers on YouTube, and I had a scare when they dropped massively. I said, oh, I'm getting out, and it seems good so far. They probably will go back up there, who knows, because that was just the anode side, and they had the cathode side of the battery as well. They still could become the next Panasonic, because it seems they got the brains. Like, Lake Resources sends the lithium here to get checked by this company, so they know what they're doing with batteries. Yeah, so you just want to find these companies before anyone else does. Just hold them. They'll go up and down, and then when you think they've reached their peak or a pretty good price, you can sell out. It's just my opinion, not financial advice. So thanks for this, and I'll see you in the next video.